gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? The show starts in 3, 2, 1, go.
Good morning, CaneSport. It's November the 3rd, 2023. I'm Gary Ferman, the publisher of CaneSport.com, joined once again by our managing editor, Matt Shodell, as we discuss the news of the day, brought to you today by Caneswear, your headquarters for all your Miami Hurricanes merchandise needs. Caneswear has the largest cane store ever created, and they are there at their new location at 2655 South University Drive in Davie to take care of you. Or, of course, caneswear.com if you don't live within a reasonable vicinity of their store. We'll talk a little bit more about Caneswear later. But first, Matt, we're going to talk about Canes basketball, which is wearing a gargantuan load of expectations as it gets ready to embark on a new season here on Monday. And you were out there yesterday. Coach Jim Larinaga was holding court. His final press session before the opener invited you out to practice. Tell me what you saw, how you felt after you left Canes basketball headquarters.
Well, first, thank you. Thank you for forcing me to again come on the morning show. I really appreciate it. I was out there. I would say the highlight was when I saw Jim Larinaga stretching out his back. The poor guy, he's had a lot of back problems. And so I was trying to be helpful. It's the middle of practice. I say, hey, Jim. I said, do you know about those Australian shoes that are like curved on the bottom? They help lower backs. And he turns to me and he says, Matt, do they help bone on bone? I said, probably not. And that was the end of our awkward conversation. That was the highlight. So the low light was actually watching Norchad Omier trying to hit 3-pointers. I highly recommend they do not have him shoot threes. Like it was not good. Like just keep him in the lane. He was great last year. Like why do you need to expand his game? He's got
to have something to work on, man. He's trying to become a professional.
You can have work on other stuff because to me it's clear he is not a three-point shooter. He hit. Right. I watched him take maybe 10 or 15. He hit maybe 1 or 2. It's not his forte. That's okay.
If he can't develop that, he might as well walk off the basketball court in March and walk right across the street, which is it's literally across the street now, to Mario Cristobal's office, and he should tell Mario Cristobal, Coach, I want to be a football player. And he should go and walk on to the UM football team, and he will be an absolute beast somewhere, whether it's as a tight end, probably as a tight end, I would think, that type of player. And listen, he is more impressive than Jimmy Graham was at this point. Not quite as rangy, but I really think Norchad Omier would be a beast of a football player. And if he is not going to be a pro in the NBA, I mean, he probably could go play in Europe no matter what, then try football for a year or two. See how that goes. That would be my idea.
Well, he does look great. He looks to me like he reshaped his body. He had a little bit of baby fat on him last year. It's gone. I mean, he is ripped. His arms are bigger. He just looks in great shape. And I think for the up and down tempo that Jim Larinaga wants to play, it was smart of him to do that. He's going to have a monster year, just not shooting threes. He's going to have a monster year. And, it was also interesting, that Jim Larinaga said something, and I've covered him forever since he's been here. He's never, ever before a season said this, and it struck me that he said it. He obviously said it for a reason, which probably means that he's concerned about it. He doesn't want his players looking ahead. And then, the intrepid Miami Herald reporter, Michelle Kaufman, says, what does that mean? And, I just assumed it meant, it meant one game at a time. But no, apparently it meant that he doesn't want his players to think about the NBA.
Right.
His season's not even started yet. And for some reason, he's telling them, don't think about the NBA. Why would they be thinking about the NBA?
Because they're probably thinking about the NBA, and they're good. They have a good team, and he's thinking, think big here. Let's try to win the whole thing this year. They have a good team.
What I was going to say is, I think what he's trying to get at is I think he's seeing some selfish play from some players and maybe some egos that need to be massaged. And his big message, he said he's going to talk to them about it yesterday after practice or before practice. I was there for the beginning of practice. He didn't mention it. But he said he's going to talk to them about that. So obviously something's gotten in his ear that bothered him about it. And, he's not one to just keep stuff to himself. He does tell the media things that maybe he shouldn't, which is fine. Because you know what? When it's in the media, it actually resonates more with the players, because then it actually may rein in the players more versus being this private conversation. Now, the media, it's going to be in the media and it's going to be like, am I the guy who's not performing because I'm just being selfish and taking shots? Like, am I Anthony Walkering this team? I don't know if that's going to be the case or not. But when it's out there, I think it helps people not Anthony Walker the team. So, we'll see what happens. But it's a great group of players. There's really good leadership, according to Jim, and I think they are really good leaders. And I think those true freshmen are going to really help out too. I'm not going to try to pronounce their names, but Michael, Nwoko, I think it is, and the other guy, So I'm not going to say their names. I don't know. You know who they are. 6'10", 6'8". The 6'10" guy's a monster. He was trying to dribble yesterday unsuccessfully, but he's a great inside presence. And the 6'8" guy is really, really versatile. So I think both those guys are going to help a lot.
The guy that I'm really looking forward to see is Wooga Poplar. I think he is going to have a monster season this year and really bust out. And I thought he was on the cusp of it last year, but it was hard for him. I mean, listen, Isaiah Wong was the ACC Player of the Year. He's carrying the show. Jordan Miller was obviously a high-profile player. Then you had Nigel Pack, Norchad Omir. There wasn't really a place for Wooga Poplar to kind of assert himself. Well, there's a place this year for him to assert himself. He was held back by a little bit of an leg injury for a couple days, but he's back in action, ready to go for opening night. And I'm also interested to see how Matthew Cleveland fits into this team. It's going to be very interesting. He's a special talent, but I have noticed, at least in the practice prior to this one that Coach Larinaga allowed us out to, that he kind of has a little bit of that type of mindset that maybe Jim's talking about. And, he wants to see Matthew Cleveland focused on the now. He can really make a contribution to this team. He shot 44% for Florida State a year ago, which is really, really good. 35% from the 3-point line. He has the potential to be a really special talent if he can just keep everything, reined in and focus in on his role on this team.
You hit it on the head, because Jim mentioned the team leaders, and he mentioned all 4 starters without Matthew Cleveland. So, I mean, yep. You hit it on the head 100%. Like, I'm not the guy who's going to call him out, but for sure, there's an issue there, and it needs to be solved.
Probably is. I will say this. I've known Leonard Hamilton for, it's probably been, 25 years or so now, ever since he came to Miami. And, he didn't let this kid leave Florida State for sport. Like, Leonard doesn't lose kids. Okay. So there were issues at Florida State, I'm sure, that can't creep up here at Miami. But Jim Larinaga should be up to the task in dealing with whatever he has to deal with to rein in his guy, because, he's a veteran coach, experienced, and you're not coming in here and running over Jim Larinaga. I mean, it's just not happening, especially with the talent that they have on this team. So, you are going to have to conform. You are going to have to be part of a team, and then you can go out. What the heck is that? Why the heck did a Hyundai commercial start playing on my computer? But what the heck? I don't want to buy a Hyundai. Okay? I don't want to buy it. I don't have any need for it. Get that out of my face. All right. God, I bet you Matthew Cleveland did that. But anyway, no, seriously, Matthew Cleveland can be a very key part of this team. He just has to be part of the team, and maybe not try to do too much himself. And mesh the way Jordan Miller did a year ago. That's what they're looking for from him. And Jordan Miller had plenty of moments to shine. But you can't have they're so good individually with Nigel Pack and Poplar and Norchad. You can't have a guy just thinking about himself or trying to do too much himself. And I'm not saying Matthew Cleveland's doing that. I'm just saying that is Jim Larinaga's challenge this season, is to get these guys to be a team. And if they do that, they're going to be a damn good team. They're going to make March Madness, and they are going to be a threat to make another run very deep in the NCAA tournament yet again. All right, Matt. Well, listen, it's time to get ready for the NC State game on Saturday. This is a massive, massive game for the Hurricanes. I think I don't want to be a drama queen here, or a drama king, I should say, but I think this is the whole season. I really do. I think this game now, based on what's happened to this point, is this is really huge, because you're going to be up against it next week in Tallahassee, no doubt. Okay. But you haven't been playing well. You're on game 9 now. You're supposed to be getting better as a football team, and it's time to show it. And the experts out there, i.e. the bookies in Vegas and our own Lee Sterling on a You Bet CaneSport show, they're bullish on the Canes this week. You see the line has gone from 4 to 5. A lot of money coming in on Miami, and people are expecting this team to go to Raleigh and put up a big performance this weekend. I think they need to. I think they will do that. I think it's time for them to pull it together here in this game on the road against NC State and build some momentum going into Tallahassee, where you go take your best shot.
Yeah, NC State's not particularly good. I think it's a little bit of an exaggeration to say it's the most important game you've ever seen at Miami or whatever you're talking about.
I said this is the whole season, because if you lose this week, you lose this week, now you got to go into Tallahassee on a down, and now you're looking at losing that. Then you have that gives you 4 losses with Louisville coming in. It just changes the fabric of the whole season to me. If you win this week, it's a different deal. You're 7-2, knowing that you should be 8-1, and you have confidence, and you take that confidence up to the game against your arch rival, which then would almost certainly be in prime time on national TV, and you really have a chance to put a bow on a season that's been a little bit of a struggle. Let's be honest. I mean, they've won some close games, which is good, but since really Texas A&M, have they looked as pretty as they did against Texas A&M since then? I don't think so.
I mean, you're just looking at it through the wrong lens. We already know what this Miami team is. This is a Miami team that lost to Georgia Tech, whether you want to think take a knee or not. They played terribly against a really not very good team. They easily could have lost to Virginia. Again, just a not good team. They beat a North Carolina team that maybe isn't so good after all. They beat a Texas A&M team. Huh?
They lost.
They lost to North Carolina. They lost to North Carolina team that isn't very good either. They beat a Texas A&M team that's a 500 team, and they beat a Clemson team that's not very good. So, to say this game means anything, NC State's not very good either. It's like beating or losing to NC State tells us nothing new. Miami's an average team in an average conference, but they're on the upswing in general, just off of last year, right? We already know they're better than last year. So to me, this season's been a success, whether they lose to NC State or not. You can say it's this most important game because then it's FSU. They're not going to win the ACC title this year. They're not going to be a playoff team this year. I'm sorry. They're not at that level. And God forbid they are in the playoffs, it'll be an embarrassment because they'll lose by 50, okay? They're not at that level. I'm sorry. But they will be there. It's just a matter of time. And you see the progress, regardless of wins and losses, these 3-point games that they've been winning in overtime. You can say it's progress. To me, it's not really, because if a game hinges on one play, to me, those are games that could go either way. I look at it sort of big picture. I look at it a little differently.
You're supporting my argument that this game is big. I mean, this is a big game.
No, I'm saying the exact opposite. You just don't listen.
No, you're not. You're supporting it because you're saying that they have not shown that
I'm
they're
saying
better.
It doesn't matter if they win or lose this game because these games are hinging on one play. All you want to see is progress, and we've already seen it. This season is already a success.
Have you really seen progress? Think about it.
Yes, of course.
This isn't the same thing you've been seeing for several years.
You don't notice the team's not quitting in games? Have you noticed that? Have you noticed the freshmen and the redshirt freshmen and the true sophomores making an impact? Like, I don't know what you're watching to not think they've made an impact, a difference from last year.
I think the game to show that they have made an impact is Saturday night at 8:00 in Raleigh, North Carolina.
Let me ask you,
and that's the game that you go show that you have made progress and you've you've had a couple weeks of issues and you've corrected them, and now you're ready to be the football team that you showed us against Texas A&M that you had a chance to be, and you've just been floundering around since Texas A&M.
I'm not even interested in this game. The only game that I actually would want to watch right now, and look, the Florida State game I want to watch. The other three I could care less about. That's just the truth. The only game I would want to see more than a Miami versus Florida State game right now is Miami 2023 versus Miami 2022. If you could somehow have those two teams play against each other, Miami 2023.
Miami 2023 would kill Miami 2022, but that's not the point.
That is the point. I literally just said that's the improvement.
They haven't, but they're not showing that.
What are you talking about?
Not showing it.
It's not. Again, you keep looking at it like it's a 1-year deal. This is the problem with fans.
It's a 1-year deal. I just want them to show improvement. It's week 9 now. They've been working their butts off for 10 months. I want them to show improvement. They showed me against Texas A&M.
Have.
Pretty good.
They already have. You're looking at this narrow window of game-to-game improvement. I'm looking at big picture because on the big picture, you've got to have an upward trajectory. They already have shown that no matter what happens against NC State, which you think is this mega important game, it doesn't matter. They've already shown the young players.
In overtime is not an upward trajectory. I'm sorry. They've done a good job winning the games in overtime instead of losing them. And of course, you don't want to lose them, but playing these games into overtime against teams they're better than is not showing an upward trajectory. An upward trajectory would be walking into that stadium on Saturday night and taking care of business and leaving no doubt and showing that you are ready to go to Tallahassee and be counted. And that you are not going up there to have them romp all over you like they did a year ago when it wasn't even it wasn't even a fair contest. Like Florida State destroyed them last year. I want to see a team that looks good, that shows it's making improvement, and that is going to be able to go to Florida State with confidence and a purpose.
Again, you're missing the whole point. We already know they're going to do that. They are going to look better against Florida State than they did a year ago. There's no doubt in my mind. We know what this team is. It's not championship level, but it's a lot better than last year's team. And you're looking at the wrong measuring stick. You keep looking at it in points scored versus points against per game. That's not what's important. What's important for this program is...
Did you hear me say anything about points? Points are for losers.
You win with points. You lose without points. What is important for this program is what they've already shown this year. You don't need more games to know it. These last 4 games, to me, it's nice to win them, but you don't have to. We already know the young core of players is good enough. We know Emory Williams will be good enough. We know that there's redshirt freshmen and sophomores who will contribute. We know there's true freshmen who are redshirting who will be really significant players, the linebackers. We can go down the whole list. But there's a list of 7 or 8 guys right now who are first and second year players that are making major strides and have looked really good. And Georgia Tech, North Carolina, Virginia, Clemson, they did not, to me, show significant progress in those 4 games. They just happened to win a couple in overtime that never should have been in overtime. Progress from game to game. Again, I'm talking about last year to this year progress.
Let me put it to you this way. As we sit here today, before they go to Raleigh and take the field on Saturday night at 8:00, is this team right this minute at 5?
Thank God he muted himself. He got so excited that his computer shut him off.
I got to calm down. I'm pounding the table and I muted my mic. Okay.
That's AI right there. That's AI saying we think that you are an alien and you are getting shut down.
Between aliens trying to sell me Hyundais or whatever the hell they were trying to sell me. All right. I'm gonna contain myself. Listen. It's 5:18 in the morning on Friday morning. As we sit here right now at this moment, is this team better than it was on whatever that day was in September? I forget the date. that they played Texas A&M and they looked damn good doing it.
Yes, the team's better. The team's more banged up, but Francis Mauigoa has reps under his belt. He's improving. The offensive line that played in that game against Texas A&M is better now than it was then, believe it or not, even though it was a pretty good unit back then.
All right, let me rephrase my question because I agree with you that the team's better. Has the team shown that it's better?
Again, you keep looking at wins and losses. Like, to me, it's not about winning or losing by 3 points or not.
I'm looking at wins and losses and style points.
The team was ranked higher in offense and ranked higher in defense after the first 4 or 5 games of the year than it is now. But that's not, again,
I'm
that's
talking
not
game 2, Matt. I'm not talking game 4 or 5.
What are you asking about?
Didn't they play Texas A&M in the second game of the year?
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Okay, they look pretty good.
Yeah, but you can't rely on rankings from game 2. So I'm saying,
I don't care about rankings. I don't care about numbers. I'm talking about the eye test.
Yeah, I think
I'm talking about what we see with these.
The defense seems to have really dialed in and understands what to do, more so than I thought in the first, than in the second game. Okay, because there were some busts in that game. There were guys running really wide open against Texas A&M that their quarterback was just terrible. Let's face it. I mean, I think we put tape up at some points of it too, but no, the defense was not good against Texas A&M. I think it's a much better defense. These last 2 or 3 games, I've been saying it on this show, like the defense, like I'm not worried about Lance Guidry anymore. I was still worried about Lance Guidry in game 2, game 3, and game 4. I'm not worried about him anymore. I think he knows what to do, and I think the players understand what to do because that's the key. He has a very complex defense with a lot of stuff that he tries to run, and the defense, the players seem to understand it. So that's huge. There's still some offensive question marks, but I don't think the receivers are any better than they were last year because it's the same guys. And I'm not sure the offensive system is better than it was 2 years ago. As a matter of fact, it's not better than it was under Rhett Lashley, but it's better than it was last year. Tyler Van Dyke's pretty much the same guy as last year, just inconsistent, and it is what it is at this point. You get what you get. He'll be great some games. I think he'll be great this weekend, for instance, but I don't think he'll be great against Florida State and maybe some of the other games. It just seems like when defenses have a nice zone system and good cornerbacks, that he really struggles to make decisions. And that NC State, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that NC State's going to be really honing in on the screen passes and the quick hitters and the third reads, because that's all that's been talked about all week. So I think it's actually they're actually going to try to force Tyler to throw over the top this game. Don't be surprised to watch NC State press up on the line with their corners and try to force Tyler to not go to the easy throws that Shannon Dawson is going to be telling Tyler all week. Look at this. He was wide open, Tyler. Why didn't you just throw the ball 2 yards away instead of 40 yards for an interception? What were you thinking? And NC State, they're not morons over there. They actually have a really good defense. They're scheming up all sorts of stuff to take that away, confuse Tyler, and then drop guys into the secondary, get interceptions. So while I think Tyler's going to have a big game this week, he's going to have to do it throwing the ball down the field, but I think he'll have some opportunities to do that. And I just honestly, the way I feel about things a lot of times is it's mental. And players, football players are built to get mad and rebound and do better the next game. Like, it would be really disheartening if Tyler comes out and just has another awful game, because then, where do you go from there? Now it's a pattern. It's a pattern of just bad play in multiple games for him. So that's why I think he's going to have a big game, because if he doesn't, it's honestly a little bit of a disaster heading into Florida State. Because what do you do at that point? Do you start Emory now? If Tyler plays terrible and they lose to NC State, what do you do? So he has no choice but to play great. So I'm going to go with he's going to play great.
I think you line up against me just for the sport of it. Because
now,
you're supporting what I was saying. You're talking about how important it is for Tyler Van Dyke to play well this week. That would mean,
at this season, Gary, there's 2 different things. You could look at this season, which is what I'm talking about the last 2 minutes, or big picture improvement. You keep talking about 2 different things.
First week in November, who gives a damn about big picture?
From one game to the next, you keep wanting me to say, oh, there's improvement. No. From a period of 8 games this year, there's been massive improvement. Now, you want to say from game 1 to game 8, has there been improvement? Yes. From last year to this year, has there been improvement? Yes. From game 5 to game 8, has there been improvement? Not so much, but that's okay.
You win these last 4 games, you could still play for the ACC championship. So who cares about big picture?
Because they're not going you're living in a fantasy world. If you think
I'm not saying they're going to win them. I'm saying I wanted them to show me on Saturday that they really are the better team that we think they are. I mean, show me. It's week 9 now.
NC State's not even good. Like, what would it take?
Okay, so go out and
they win by 40. They win by 40. You're ready to proclaim Miami like they're going to beat FSU and they're going to win the ACC if they win by 40 this weekend.
Like that. But at
you
least
look at it one. You take one game. You think one game is so important. You know, it's not in the big picture.
In the context of how this season has gone. And how the last 4 or 5 weeks have gone, that this is a very important game.
Oh my God! Listen to me. Listen to me for 2 seconds.
To get the momentum back in the right direction. I don't feel like they're not going into this game with momentum, Matt. It was a disaster last week.
This game is as important as your 82nd birthday you had 14 years ago. It's not that important. You don't even remember it. You don't even remember your 82nd birthday.
I barely even have gray hair. What are you talking about?
Your
hair looks grayer than my hair.
That's the problem I have. It used to be every game was so important because Miami was playing for something. You know, they didn't have 2 losses early in the year in the conference where they're battling.
They are playing for something if you want to put it in that context.
Well, that's my point. I like covering a team where every game they're playing for something. Because let's face it, if they're in a dogfight tied with NC State at the end of the game, you know, it's nice to win. It's nice not to lose. But at the end of the day, it's like, well, where do we go from here? Like, because you're probably not going to beat Florida State. Even if you beat Florida State, you know, I can't imagine Miami beating Florida State, beating NC State, beating Louisville. They should beat BC. But I can't imagine them winning all 4 of those, going to the ACC title game, winning in the ACC title game against probably FSU again, going to the playoffs. Like, I just can't picture it. I can't imagine it. I don't think it's real. So I'm like not that invested in each game the rest of the year. Like, that's just me. I just want to see, like you said, improvement over the next 4 games where you could take the whole breadth of the year and not just say, okay, we've already seen the 8-game improvement, but now in 12 games say, okay, here's where we are. And after the season, we're going to do a lot of analysis of breaking down individually where we are, scheme-wise where we are, offense and defense. You know, how are they good? How can they be better? You know, who's coming back? That can be great. Which of the young guys who didn't play much can be great? Who they need to step up. Is there transfer portal help they're going to need? Like, to me, these are the things I'm thinking about now because it's really about next year and the year after, to me, just because I know what this team is. And it's an average team. Do you agree or disagree? This is an average ACC team.
It has been an average team the last 4
Well, then that's what it is. Okay. Your eyes tell you what it is.
Can I make myself clear, please? I'm going to make myself clear through my pink flamingo sunglasses in honor of Matt Shodell. Okay, let me make this clear. I want to go to Raleigh, and I'm getting on the plane later this morning, and I'm going up there. I want to see a team that looks like it has improved since week 2 when it looked pretty good. And I don't feel we have seen that, okay? They look pretty good against Texas A&M. They have not looked as good since. I want to see them look as good or better. I want to see them look better than they looked against Texas A&M in Raleigh on Saturday night at 8:00, because then you could feel really good about going to Doak Campbell in Tallahassee and taking your best shot at reversing the tide with those guys who are going to be coming in undefeated. They are going to be feeling all that pressure, and Miami can go up there and ruin their season. And what would be better than that at this point than going up there and ruining all the hype and all the nonsense that's been coming out of there and all the games and all the recruiting nonsense that's been going on with people like Armando Blunt and everything else. If you could go up to Tallahassee and shove it up there, you know what's, there would be nothing better than that. And you're not going to be able to do it if you don't go up there with confidence. And confidence starts on Saturday night. And that's all I'm going to say about it. I'm not going to fight with you all morning. I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about Caneswear. That's what I'm going to do.
There's no fighting when one person's
I'm not
right.
fighting with you all morning.
When one person's wrong and one person's right, it's not fighting. It's called an unfair match.
You're wrong, and I still feel like I have to fight because
if this was a gladiatorial combat, I would be the gladiator, and you would be like the I don't know what animal do they have that's just like basically easy to kill. You'd be the animal that the gladiator would easily kill in the mosh pit with all the fans cheering for me because that's sort of what this feels like.
No, right now the Miami Hurricanes are that animal, and I want them to come out of this game Saturday night looking like gladiators. How about that? I put it in that context for you. Does that register?
I will tell you, I was attacked by a dog. These dog walkers. They walk their dog. They walk like 4 dogs at a time, right? And I have to walk by them all the time because in the Grove, that's what we do. We walk around. And like as I'm walking by one of these dogs, it literally it went and lunged right at me. And if that person hadn't yanked the leash back, my pretty face would be, well, not my face, but probably my legs. It wasn't the tallest dog in the world. These dogs aren't very smart, by the way. You know, like, why would a dog think in its mind that it should lunge and try to attack something that's 3 times taller than it? Like, what does the dog think is going to happen? Why? I don't even know what goes through a dog's mind. Like, this guy looks like a jerk. I'm going to bite him. This guy said something about the Hurricanes. He thinks that the Hurricanes aren't going to beat the rest of the teams on the schedule. I'm going to bite him. I mean, like, what is wrong with these dogs mentally? You know, that dog, honestly, should have its own home with, like, the other crazy dogs, and, like, keep all the crazy dogs in one spot and all the nice dogs in another spot. And then we could just have a nice life, you know, like, just go with the nice dogs. I'm not here for the bad dogs.
Did you make friends with them before you went? No.
No.
Maybe you should have brought the dog an outfit from CaneSport, because you know they have outfits at CaneSport for pets. You know,
right.
They take care of pets there too. But guys, CaneSport, okay, the largest selection of Miami Hurricanes gear ever assembled under one roof. If you haven't been there this season, get there as soon as you can. If you can't get there in person, go online to caneswear.com, because they have it all. We're talking about t-shirts, jerseys, polos, hoodies, hats, flags, magnets, decals, and they have everything. All their clothing is in all sizes for men, women, kids, babies. And like I said, they'll even dress your pet. So
I bet a Labradoodle told that dog to bite me. I bet that they probably heard what I said about the Labradoodles, and there's a whole big thing now. If you see Matt Shodell, bite him. That makes sense to me. Right. That's the only reason a dog should try to bite me.
Yeah, no doubt. How's the human stone crab doing out on your curb?
I have to go pick up the traps. We got traps out there, but the football schedule is screwing me up.
Has the human stone crab tried to bite you yet?
No.
Or I guess he knows that you haven't been out.
No, there's a lot. I've heard through the grapevine. There's a lot of stone crabs out in the bay this year. So.
Oh yeah. All right. Well,
unlike Alaska, the crabs are alive and thriving.
All right. Well, let me finish this. There's also a lot of merchandise that CaneSport for you. In addition to Hurricane stuff, they have Dolphins, Panthers, Inter Miami soccer. Anything you need or want to wear, they will take care of you at CaneSport, where it is more than just a store. It is an absolute experience. And in this new expanded location, like I said, they have the largest selection of Cane stuff anywhere. So go check them out at 2655 South University Drive in Davie. It's right next to La Spada Sub Shop. You can get yourself a big monster sub while you're shopping for your Cane stuff. And like I said, if you can't get to the store, you can go to caneswear.com, shop them 24/7, 365. You just won't be able to get the sub, but that's okay. So 2655 South University Drive in Davie, caneswear.com. Go check them out for all your Miami Hurricane stuff. All right. A few more things that I want to talk about. Recruiting. Let's go recruiting related here. The Hurricanes have extended an offer to a JUCO defensive tackle by the name of Danny Salai. He's from Hutchinson Community College. You know how hard the Canes are looking at DTs. Well, now they're looking at the JUCO ranks. Danny is going to visit later this month and is really fired up about getting an offer from Miami. And you can check out the full story on Danny and what he's saying on the website this morning. So make sure that you do that. We also have a story on Miami running back commit Chris Wheatley-Humphrey. He talks about the growing bond that he has developed with the Hurricanes coaching staff as signing day approaches. This is a kid that is a phenomenal athlete. Maybe could be a defensive back if as well as a running back. Miami's going to be pretty stacked at running back. I would think there's a great chance they move him to defensive back, but catch up on the latest on Chris Wheatley-Humphrey, also on the website this morning.
By the way, it doesn't bother you that they're offering defensive tackles this late into the cycle? I mean, to me, that always reeks a little bit of some kind of desperation when other schools have offered and Miami's like, he's not really good enough. He's not really good enough. Then all of a sudden they're like, okay, now you're good enough. Like, we didn't think so before, but listen, now you're good enough. You
struck out on the 5 stars that you tried to recruit, and now you got to go get some guys.
But the nice thing about Mario is we have not seen a lot of this. In the past, remember, it used to be constant offers, right? It would be somebody went somewhere, then a new offer would go. That guy went somewhere else, a new offer, like constantly. And we really don't see it from Mario. So when it happens, it's almost like novelty now, which is good.
As long as he can play, like he's got to be able to play. Like
he's an older guy. To me, it's almost like a transfer portal taking a JUCO kid.
It's exactly the same thing. I agree with you. It's just like going to the transfer portal.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right. And
I'm always right.
They'll be in the transfer portal looking for defensive tackles too.
And thank you for not pronouncing his last name silly. I was impressed you didn't say it that way. That was excellent.
But anyway, this Chris Wheatley Humphrey kid is really
it's spelled Saili, by the way, for those that are
okay. But I've moved on from him. I'm on Chris Wheatley Humphrey now, who's a pretty damn good player, and he is committed to Miami. I think he could end up at DB, but we have the full update on him on the website as well. Let's see a couple other stories. We've got a story on Miami commit Vincent Shavers, who is not listening to overtures from other schools. Probably a wise move on his part.
They already have a betting. They have a betting line out already for Miami versus Florida State.
What is it?
15.
Yeah, I believe it.
Yeah,
listen, they boat raced them last year, so
that's a big line.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. And I didn't mention, but we do have a story on punter Dylan Joyce on the website today too. This guy's having a very quietly having a great season. Every bit as good as Lou Headley in his first year as a Hurricane. I've been really, really impressed. And last but not least, we have our You Bet CaneSport feature with Lee Sterling on the website today, handicapping Miami at NC State. Lee is bullish on the Canes. Check that one out as well. All right, Matt. Well, that's going to do it for Good Morning CaneSport for today. I still say, I mean, I know you don't agree with me. I think this is a huge weekend that will define the season, and we'll see.
I mean, you're going to say the same thing about the Florida State game. So
no, because I don't expect them to beat Florida State. I expect them to kick the crap out of NC State.
But don't you want them to be competitive with Florida State? Isn't that
really important? And they won't be if they're not confident. If they're going up there beating up
what's more important, beating NC State or being competitive with Florida State? What's more important?
Oh man,
that's obvious. Are you kidding me? Oh, for God, I can't even just end the show. I can't even. I got to go get breakfast.
I'm going to end the show, but I can't.
With you.
I can't answer that, man. You got to win this game Saturday, and you have
can't be uncompetitive. You can't be uncompetitive. That's not a word. I don't care. You cannot be uncompetitive with an in-state program like FSU and expect to win in recruiting. You have to be competitive with FSU. That's the most important game of the year.
I agree.
NC State is even in the same conversation.
I agree. But listen.
You didn't agree.
Literally
30 seconds ago, you didn't agree.
I agree. But
oh my God.
Can it happen? Can you go up there and be competitive against Florida State if you don't go up there with confidence? If you go up there with your tail between your legs because you got beat by NC State?
Let me tell you something. You have it both ways. When Miami wins by too many points, are they going to be focused now to beat the next? They have a huge win. Are they
No, I don't agree. I'm going to tell you why. I think the fact that they had tight games the last 2 weeks is a big deal for this week, because I think they're going up there a little on edge because they haven't played well the last 2 weeks, and that will contribute to them playing well Saturday. I am expecting a big Miami performance this weekend. I hope we get it. Okay.
What I'm saying is your thought process is when they win, they can relax. If they lose, they should be angry. So I have no problem with them losing and being angry going to FSU. They have something to prove. FSU is going to be like, oh, Miami's not so good. They lost to NC State. And then bam, we knock them out.
No, I don't see it. I don't see it, man. I think you got to go to
I've done this my whole life. This is what I specialize in lowering expectations. People look at me, they say, what a moron. And then when I say something smart, they're like, oh my God, that's amazingly genius. This schmuck has come up with a great idea. How did that even happen? And that's what happens when Miami plays terrible this week. If they do, FSU is going to think we got an easy win, whatever. It's going to be awesome. And they're going to party all night. And everyone's going to be like, oh, you guys are the greatest. You're going to kill me.
They're not partying all night. You know what time they're getting home? There's not going to be any partying. The game's an 8 o'clock game. It'll be over 11:30, 12 o'clock. They'll get to the airport about 1:30 or 2, get in the air, say at 2. And they won't be home till 4 o'clock in the morning. Nobody's going partying. No. Nobody's going to
the smartest
11 or one of those places when they land at 4 in the morning.
The smartest people at Florida State aren't the professors. It's the students who line their pickup trucks with plastic and then fill it with water and roll around in bathing suits, throwing rubber duckies at the fans down the street. Those are the smart ones in Tallahassee, apparently. That's what they do. I'm not even kidding. They line their pickup truck with plastic liners, fill it with water, and they pretend it's a pool, because apparently that's like a cool thing to do in Tallahassee. If you do that in Miami, they probably just like throw things at you and laugh. But Tallahassee, that's the cool dudes.
Oh my God!
Can't wait. You'll see them.
I want video of that.
Everyone will see them.
Can you find us some video of that for the show next week?
I could try. I mean, I saw it with my own eyes, but I
try to find us some video of that. I want to show video of the FSU frat boys driving around in pickup trucks in pools of water in the back of their truck, throwing rubber duckies around.
All right, hold on. I'm Googling it right now. Here
it is. Yeah, I don't want
to. I got a video right here. I got a video right here.
Save it for next week.
All right.
Save it for next week. We'll save that for next week. We got to have some material for next week. All right, guys. Thank you so much for being part of the show this morning. If you're on YouTube right now, hit your subscribe and like buttons. It helps us with the algorithms at YouTube. If you're not yet a subscriber to CaneSport, please head on over to our website. Please join our community of fans. You will not be sorry. We got a great group, and you will hopefully get to enjoy us working our butts off to try to enhance your fan experience every single day. So for Matt Shodell, who doesn't know Jack Diddley, I'm Gary. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, and we will see you next time, everybody.